When it comes to popularity versus screen time, there may be no bigger winner than Boba Fett. For decades, fans have been fervently buying action figures, comics, and novels featuring the world's favorite bounty hunter. Sorry, dog. People love Fett, even though he has about 4 lines of dialogue in the entire original trilogy before being knocked into a giant pit by a blind guy. Because of his popularity and his limited screen time, it would be easy to think that Boba Fett doesn't have any hidden secrets. However, the truth is that there's still plenty you probably don't know about this mysterious character from a galaxy far, far away. His first real appearance. Most people know that Boba Fett first appeared on the big screen in The Empire Strikes Back, no matter what George Lucas did to the special edition of A New Hope later on. The real savvy fan may even be able to tell you Fett's first appearance on any screen was during 1978 Star Wars Holiday Special.
Maybe I can help you. I am Boba Fett.
But neither of those are actually the first time the public got to see Boba Fett. His first public appearance was a few weeks earlier, on September 24th, 1978, at the San Anselmo County Fair. San Anselmo was the home of Lucasfilm at the time, and George Lucas thought that taking part in the local parade was a great idea. While Fett didn't engage in any pie-eating contests or hog-calling, assistant film director Dwayne Dunham donned the sweaty costume and signed autographs, even though no one actually knew who Boba Fett was yet. All white. Even before Boba Fett took his unusual place in a local parade and a terrible holiday special, he'd been going through some changes. Concept artist Ralph McQuarrie had a ton of different designs for Boba that he was testing out, ultimately settling on the Mandalorian armor fans know and love today. The original suit was completely fabricated and screen tested, except it was completely Stormtrooper white. Sure, he still had a cool jetpack and sinister visor, but he was basically a bleached out version of the green and red guy of today. Why? Those original armor designs were originally planned to be old Stormtrooper armor from an old regiment, which would have made him look like a medieval knight marching into war with modern soldiers. But you know, in space. As plans for the film shifted and the lore began to grow, the armor became Mandalorian. Fett took a smaller role, and he finally got some much-needed color. The Big Bad. According to an interview with Lucasfilm's first fan relations officer, Chris Miller, Fett was originally going to play a much larger role in the trilogy, which is why he had such a prominent role in the holiday special. At one point, he was even going to eclipse Darth Vader as the trilogy's biggest bad guy. As George Lucas became increasingly bored with space, he rewrote Star Wars from a dozen films down to 3, compacted his entire second trilogy concept into Return of the Jedi, and threw Fett into a belching desert cloaca. Taking action. When Star Wars has an action figure controversy, and they happen surprisingly often, it usually revolves around Leia's gold bikini or too few Rey figures on the shelves. But the original Star Wars action figure controversy stemmed from none other than Boba Fett.
I'm the best bounty hunter in the whole galaxy. That's why you got the job.
Let's recap. Fett's first appearance was at a county fair. His second appearance was in the holiday special. His third appearance, prior to the May 1980 release of Empire Strikes Back, was on the back of action figure packaging as a mail-away figure, when he still didn't have a backstory. Just one problem. The Fett figure was portrayed with a rocket-firing backpack. Star Wars fans, who were basically the original Turbo nerds, were pretty upset at not receiving the action-packed Fett they were promised. Kenner had produced some prototypes of the full figure, which have since become the holy grail of Star Wars collectibles, but they were never released to the public due to safety concerns after a child choked on a missile from a Battlestar Galactica toy. Hasbro bought Kenner in 2010, and finally made things right when they released an actual rocket-firing Boba Fett as a mail-away in their vintage collection. Finally, adult nerds everywhere got their fondest wish, death by action figure, if they can just figure it out without killing each other.
Just push. Push the button. Push.
I'm pushing.
Okay.
Good God.
Fett's many origins. Attack of the Clones made it absolutely clear that Boba Fett is the unaltered clone of legendary bounty hunter Jango Fett, the prototype for all of the galaxy's clone troopers. Unlike his helmeted clone bros, Boba is raised personally by Jango, and eventually takes his own place in the galaxy as a bounty hunter. But even before Attack of the Clones, the Star Wars Expanded Universe had developed a rich backstory for just about every weirdo in every scene of Star Wars, no matter how irrelevant. Even Ice Cream Maker Guy, Fun fact, his name is Wilro Hood. He's a rebel hero. He has his own action figure, he has a legion of fans, and in terms of screen time versus fan fervor, he just might beat out Boba Fett. Anyway, according to Tales of the Bounty Hunters, a novel released in 1996, Boba Fett's real name was Jaster Muriel, and he's essentially an ex-cop from the world known as Concord Dawn, who's exiled from the planet for killing his corrupt superior. Eventually, he's taken in by the Mandalorians and becomes Boba Fett. After Attack of the Clones, however, Jaster was rewritten to be a completely separate character from Fett. In the comic series Jango Fett Open Seasons, Jaster Muriel was the leader of Mandalore, and the guy who took a young Jango Fett under his wing after Jango's parents were murdered. Occasionally, though, both Boba and Jango would use Jaster's name as their own, kinda like an intergalactic Rusty Shackleford. He survived a fight with Vader. The original trilogy implies that Boba Fett and Darth Vader have a pretty okay relationship, but readers of Star Wars comics over the years have witnessed a rather unforgettable sight of Vader and Fett trying to all-out murder each other. Sure, they're mostly non-canonical now, but that doesn't mean it's not fun to see. First, there's a fight in Star Wars Tales number 11, where Fett actually holds his own against Vader in a lightsaber battle in a cantina. Vader and Fett faced off once again in Boba Fett Enemy of the Empire number 4, where the stakes were a bit higher. In truly bizarre comics fashion, the two fight over the severed but still talkative head of a fortune-telling alien queen. Boba Fett is hired to retrieve the head in a box, but Vader wants it as a tool for his eventual overthrow of Emperor Palpatine. The two come to blows, with Vader deflecting blaster bolts and cutting Fett's getaway speeder in half, until he stops screwing around and force chokes Fett, who kicks the head off a cliff, and jetpacks to safety while Vader uses the Force to retrieve it. The two only ended up having a pleasant work relationship later on because the decapitated Queen Head says they will, and Vader is pretty superstitious. But they probably also bonded over how difficult it is to go to the bathroom while wearing armor. 8 is enough. You'd think that Darth Vader would have taken the record for the most actors portraying the same character on the big screen, between actors, last-second stand-ins, and voice actors, not to mention stuntmen. But Boba Fett really wins that award since, for the most part, whoever fit into the armor got to play him. Jeremy Bulloch played Fett through most of the character's appearances in the original trilogy, with the exception of 2 days, when he missed filming and the actor who played the rebel pilot Dak, John Morton, filled in. Throughout the original trilogy, Jason Wingreen provided his voice. For the special editions, he was dubbed by Tamora Morrison, the actor who played Jango Fett. And when George Lucas needed more Fett footage for his special editions, he decided to just use 3 different Industrial Light and Magic employees who happened to fit into the outfit. Finally, for the prequels, young Boba was played by Daniel Logan, who also provided the voice for Boba Fett in the Clone Wars cartoon. And we're not even counting video games, radio dramas, or Star Tours. King of the Mandalorians. Though it's been wiped out by Star Wars' massive continuity overhaul, Boba Fett was once the leader of his entire planet of Mandalore, just like his father was before him. What's the name of the leader of all of Mandalore, the 5th planet in the Mandalore system? Quite simply, Mandalore. That word probably works for everything. It's like aloha, shalom, smurf, or squanch.
Squanchy party, bro!
Oh, squanchy!
Is there a good place for me to squanch around here?
Squanchy, you can squanch wherever you want, man!
The actual history of the Mandalorians seems to shift around a lot, but in the 2008 Star Wars novel Legacy of the Force Revelation, Fett's reluctant rise to power is spelled out clearly. He's hired to kill the existing Mandalore leader, Fen Shaisa, who ends up saving Fett's life. But Shaisa is critically injured in the process. As a result, Fett is bound to honor his last request, that Fett himself become the new Mandalore of Mandalore. As such, Fett had the Mandalorians fight back against the alien Yuuzhan Vong invaders in the novella Boba Fett, A Practical Man, and helped restore Mandalore after the war. Make Mandalore great again, right? Fett's family. Another thing lost to Disney's revised continuity was Fett's family, which he started 16 years before A New Hope. It's weird to think of Fett as a doting dad, but he and his bounty hunter wife, Sintaz Vel, settled down and had a daughter named Aelin when Fett was only 19. Unfortunately for everyone, Sintaz is assaulted by Boba's boss, who Boba then kills, sending him spiraling into exile and divorce. Sintaz ends up frozen in carbonite for 4 decades, and their daughter goes on a misguided quest to kill Boba Fett Fett herself. Not only that, but Aelin trains her own daughter, Myrta, to follow in her footsteps. And you thought your family was messed up. All of that, and Boba Fett still found time to train the expanded universe daughter of Han and Leia, Jaina Solo. With the help of Fett and his granddaughter Myrta Gev, Jaina is able to kill her evil brother Jason and restore peace to the galaxy. So, no matter what reality you're following, Han and Leia have one really messed up evil kid. Those Skywalkers are bad news. Thanks for watching. Click the looper icon to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Plus, check out all this cool stuff we know you'll love too.